بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. We were studying the verses of Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces the prophets as humans like others. We said that these verses are of two categories. The first categories are more in number, are those verses that the non-believers and kuffar and mushrikeen, they used to call the prophets humans like themselves. And in other places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answering to them, responding to them. Actually, from the side of the Prophet says that, yes, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. Tell them that I'm a person, I'm a human being like you, that I receive revelation. We talked about these things and we said that the mushrikeen, the opponents, they were rejecting the prophets and saying that you are people like us. And because of being a human, you cannot be a messenger from Allah. If you are messengers from Allah, then you have to do things that Allah does. So because you are human, because you eat, because you drink like us, so why not us to be chosen as prophets? So if you think you are prophets, do what Allah does. You have to have ilmul ghaib, you have to have the power of infinite power and to do whatever things that we demand from you. We recited the verses that Allah says that their demands were nonsense and they had irrational actually expectations from the prophets. And the prophets told them that the very aspect of us that you are referring to be a human being, this itself is an answer to you. That we can, you are saying, فَأْتُوا بِسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ, do whatever we are asking you. But the point is that we are humans. We cannot do that. Human cannot do that. So you cannot expect a man to do things that Allah can do. But the point is that وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ. But Allah gives abundant blessings. I said minna is a big blessing, big ni'mah. Allah can give those great blessings to anyone who wishes. And again here, before going any further, the point, the term is very important. Man yasha. Yasha means the ones that Allah wishes. You know, when we as human beings, we wish, I want and I wish to give something to him, not to give to the other. So this wish of me, if somebody asks me a question, why you did so, we might not have that much, concrete proofs for that. No, I like him. As they say, people's, desire or liking may not have reason and taste may not have reason. If I ask why you like him, you don't like the other, I don't know, this is how I feel. So for human being, when we say man yasha, means to have just a wish, a desire, a pleasure in something. So it is not necessarily based on any kind of a wisdom. But when it comes to Allah, Allah is Hakim, Allah is wise. Allah is not under the influence of emotions. And inshallah, this is one of the very important points, that Allah is not under the influence of emotions, to see that why Allah asks us and commands us actually to ask and to have istighasa to awliyaullah. Awliyaullah are humans like us. They have emotions. When your child is sick, you can say, "Oh, Imam al-Hussein, ask Allah for shifa of my child, as your own baby Ali Asghar was thirsty in the desert of Karbala." So you are provoking his emotions. Allah is not under the influence of emotions. Allah doesn't have emotions. Allah is higher than emotions. So emotions are for the creatures, for the actually created things, not for the creator. Creator is beyond and above the emotions. So even when we talk about Allah's anger, when we talk about Allah's mercy, Allah's kindness, Allah's rahmah, inna Allah yuhibbu, Allah loves, Allah likes, Allah dislikes. This is not like and dislike of you and me. This is different. So not to know these delicate points and concepts, people will confuse when they are doing tafsir al-Quran. So when it comes to the point of liking and disliking of Allah, Allah's liking and disliking is according to wisdom. Even though Allah is merciful, again I said merciful not in the sense of emotional way. That's why one of the blessings of Allah is that you appeal to a person like the Prophet, like the Imam, who has emotions. He's a human like you, but not like you in all sense. He's close to Allah. Then he can be wasila between you and Allah. You have istighasa to them. This was in parenthesis actually. So Allah, when Allah says, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ, مَن يَشَاء means when there is a when there is a wisdom. Allah, even though the Prophet said, we are humans like you, and from that aspect of being a human, we cannot do things that you like to bring you a big, treasury, tons of gold. I cannot do that. It's not in my hand to bring to you. It should be by the permission from Allah. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ. Allah will give the minnah and the blessing to anyone who wishes from among the people, means to the prophets. So the prophets are those who receive this minnah and great blessing of Allah, and that is according to the wisdom of Allah. Means that this person, there should be a wisdom why this person is being chosen. They were saying that why we are not chosen by Allah. We recited the verses that kuffar and mushrikeen, they said, if Allah is going to give such a mission to a human being, why not us? Why just you? They said, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ. Allah chooses to whom to give the mission. In other place, Allah said, Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'al risalata. Allah knows in which place to put His Prophet with His message, His mission. Allah knows whom to choose. Allah better knows whom to choose as a prophet. Allah looks at the hearts, which heart has the better capacity to bear the message. Because there should be a correspondence, there should be a kind of a capacity between your heart and the message which Allah is going to give to you. So, inshallah, we will talk about it. Even the prophets are different according to this capacity that they had, according to the different capabilities and purities that they had. So, Allah answering those people says, yes, إنما قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم. I am a human like you. But being a human is exactly to reject what you are asking. You are saying that you have to do whatever Allah does. We say we are human. So because we are human, things are not in our control. But it doesn't mean that we are all totally the same. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ. Allah will have minna, Allah will give the great blessing to anyone who wishes. Wish of Allah is according to the wisdom, يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيُذِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ, to guide and to disguide, to give wisdom or not to give. All these things are according to Mashiyatullah, and Mashiyatullah is according to absolute wisdom. This is first. بَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ. So there is the wisdom of Allah to whom to give, and the person to be given is different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about Musa alayhi salam, says, وَاسْتَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. I chose you specifically for myself. Istina'at, and creation of everyone is by the hand of Allah. Fir'aun is also istana'atu. And Allah's creations, Allah says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I created all human beings and all the jinn to do ibadah. We talked about it. So the creation and the reason behind the creation of everything is ibadah. And we said that the purpose behind ibadah is to reach to the state of certainty. وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. And the purpose behind creation of everything is to get close to Allah. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbik. So everyone is created to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be special for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah says, وَاسْتَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي, when Allah says to Musa alayhi salam, I made you for myself, means in a different way. Means I had a different attention to you, to your heart, to your character, to your soul. You are something special. And even when we look at Musa alayhi salam and when we look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when we look at the ma'rifah of these two prophets, when we see that the prophet is of higher ma'rifah. Musa alayhi salam, when he was in danger, he said, Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. Inna ma'iya rabbi. Ma'i means with me. With me is my Rabb. With me, these termings of Quran, it's a miracle itself. When Quran is miracle, means every single, formation of words to come first or to come next, what word to be used and to be used, all these things are miracle. So for Musa alayhi salam says, Inna ma'iya rabbi, with me is my Rabb. But when it comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Inna Allaha ma'ana. Allah is with us. He didn't say with us is Allah. First he sees Allah, then himself. And this is a greater tawheed. So when you put these two verses together, you see that the tawheed of the Prophet is higher than tawheed of Musa alayhi salam. So when Rasulullah is higher than Musa in tawheed, according to Quran, when you compare the statements of these two prophets, he says, Inna ma'iya rabbi, he says, Inna Allaha ma'ana. And Musa is the one that Allah says, Istana'tuka li nafsi. So let alone the position of the Prophet. Inshallah, I will talk about the position of the Prophet and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully is admiring his Prophet. Then you will see that they are not basharun mislukum in that sense. Yeah, when you look at the physical sense, he has two eyes, one nose, two lips, teeth, two hands, two legs. Yeah, he's a person like the others. He eats like the others. He procreates like the others. He sleeps like the others. But it doesn't mean that in all aspects they are the same. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Minna of Allah, blessing of Allah will come to people, and this blessing can change people in different levels. This is something that even we see that some Sunni scholars, they have noted. Zamakhshari in Kashaf, he says, famous Sunni Mufassir, in Al-Kashaf an Haqa'iq Ghawamiz al-Tanzil, volume 2, page 544. He says, In nahnu, when the Prophet said, In nahnu illa basharum mithlukum, we are not other than humans like you. Zamakhshari says, Taslimun liqawlihim. This is to surrender to their claim. They were saying that you are humans like us. A person who considers you a simple human, and he doesn't see any virtue in you. So you cannot come to the person to say that, look, I am waliyullah, I am so great in akhlaq, I am so great in this, in that. These people will not buy it from you. These people are to reject you. So if the Prophet was about to mention those things they would reject him, they would mock him, they would make it a cause of mockery. They didn't have the capacity for the Prophet to come and talk about his position and character and personality. So they have to speak in a way that these people will accept and will not reject. They were jealous of them, they were enemies of them. So you have to bear in mind in what context these verses, these conversations are being done. So Zamakhshari says, when they said, we are men like you, this was taslimun liqawlihim. Okay, you're saying I'm human? Agree, I'm human. وَإِنَّهُمْ بَشَرٌ مِثْلُهُم. They were actually sort of repeating their enemies, the opponents' claim that we are human like you. يعنون أنهم مثلهم في البشرية وحدها. They meant that we are like you just in being human. فأما ما وراء ذلك فما كانوا مثلهم. But beyond that, beyond being human, they were not the same. ولكنهم لم يذكروا فضلهم تواضعا منهم. But the prophets didn't mention their virtue and their higher aspects because of their humility, because of their tawazu and humbleness. Humbleness, or just because these people wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't accept it. They don't accept that you receive a revelation. How can they accept that you are of such a high position in character and personality? واقتصروا على قولهم, but the prophets suffice by saying ولكن الله يمن على من يشاء من عباده. Allah will show minna and blessing to his servants بالنبوة, by choosing as a prophet. They just refer to this fact of nubuwwah. لأنه قد علم أنه لا يختصهم بتلك الكرامة إلا فهم أهل لاختصاصهم بها. It is known that the prophets were not chosen to prophethood. They were not chosen only because of being liable for that. Means that they were chosen because they were liable for that. So the reason that they were chosen as the prophets, لاختصاصهم بها, because they had the capacity to be a prophet. They had the soul, such a great soul to be a prophet. لخصائص فيهم, because they had some qualities, they had some characteristics within themselves that made them different from the others. And by this Allah referring to إلا بإذن الله, other than when the permission of Allah is there. أرادوا أن الإتيان بالآية التي اقترحتموها ليس إلينا ولا في استطاعتنا وما هو إلا أمر يتعلق بمشيئة الله. So here Zamakhshari is referring to the fact that if the prophets said that we are humans like you, they didn't mean that we are humans in all aspects and there is no difference between you and us. They were just referring to the aspect that they are humans, and because of being a human, they shouldn't think that everything is in their control. Things are in the control of Allah, but Allah may give them the permission. So this is of vital importance to bear in mind that when we are saying, when we are talking about the concept of قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. Because unfortunately this is misunderstood. And later on, there is another view which has been recently, in the recent years actually, it was announced by one of the scholars, Sayyid Hussein Mudarrisi, that inshallah we will later talk about it, the theory of ulama abrar, to say that the prophet, the imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they were just scholars like other scholars. So to say that they had isma, to say that they had a specific knowledge to come from Allah, to say that they are chosen by Allah, no, none of these things are there. They were just scholars who inherited the knowledge from their fathers and from Amirul Mu'minin and Amirul Mu'minin to inherit the knowledge from the Prophet. They were good scholars. Their ijtihad and their understanding was better than the others. And the claim is that, see, the Prophet is an ordinary person, let alone the Imams. You see that? So at the end, everything is based on this theory that they say everything is based on the fact that the Prophets were ordinary human beings, let alone Imams who come after them. So we are studying the context, and in the previous session we talked about the context to say that the prophets didn't want to say that we are human beings like you without any privilege, without any difference. The difference was there, the privilege was there. Fakhr Razi, again, Fakhruddin Razi, another outstanding Sunni Mufassir in At-Tafsir al-Kabir. I'm just referring to their tafsir because in our tafsir is abundant. Our ulama, they have talked about the position of the Prophet. But even among the Sunni Mufassirin, you see that they refer to this point that the Prophet and the character of the Prophet is not the same. So when Quran says, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ, this hasr is izafi. This is a relative exclusion. In one verse, for example, the Prophet says, إِنَّمَا أَنَا مُنذِرٌ, or if I'm not mistaken with the verse, uh, you are just munzir. وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. You are not hadi, you are not to guide, you are just munzir, you are just to warn them. So when Allah says you are not other than a munzir and a warner, this hasr is izafi, this is a relative exclusion. Means that from this specific aspect only. Imagine you come to me, I'm just teaching in the class. You say that for example, there is such a problem in the school, there is such a problem in the school, in the university, you may count some problems. Then at the end say, I am nothing other than a teacher. This hasr is izafi, this exclusion is relative. It doesn't mean that I am nothing other than a teacher. It doesn't. So you cannot say that he's not a father because he said I am just a teacher. So if he was a teacher, a father, he had to say. Is he, for example, an athlete? No, he's not an athlete because he said I am only a teacher. Is he, I don't know, working somewhere? No, he said I'm just a teacher. So when I say I am just a teacher, it means that the things that you're talking about is not my business. So in the realm of the things that you are mentioning, I want to say that they have nothing to do with me. I'm just a teacher. For those things, somebody else is in charge. So when I say I am just a teacher, it doesn't mean that I have no other aspect and function in my life other than being a teacher. No, I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a, I don't know, a colleague, I'm maybe a manager somewhere, and so many other aspects that I have in my life. So when I say I am nothing other than a teacher, this hasr is izafi, means concerning the points that you are talking about, they don't, they are not within the realm of my jurisdiction. It's out of my capacity. I have nothing to do with them. Allah says, you are not hadi, you are not the one to guide people to take their hand, so do not insist that much that your heart is aching for these people to guide them to the right path. No, you just warn them. You just warn them, they want to choose or disobey. So hasr can be izafi, not absolute. Is it clear? So when Allah says you are just a munzir, innama anta munzir, you are nothing other than a warner, doesn't mean that you don't have any other function. No, this you don't have any other function is relative to the one that comes later. وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ means that in comparison between two things, to be hadi and to be munzir, you are not hadi, you are just munzir. So when Allah says innama anta munzir, doesn't mean that you don't have any other function other than being a munzir. You might have thousands of other functions. Clear? So here when Allah says, when the Prophet said, "Iqul innama ana basharum mithlukum," we are humans like you, means that things are not in our control the way that it's in the control of Allah. We are humans like you, but this doesn't mean that we are humans like you in all aspects. So we don't have any privilege over you. These people, they want to explain and interpret the verse in this sense. While this innama ana basharum mithlukum is coming in the sense to reject their claim. They said it's not out of two. Whether you are prophets of God, so you can do whatever God can do, or you are humans like us. If you are humans like us, so you have nothing, or you are prophets of God and you can do whatever God can do. So why we are rejecting your prophethood is because you are human. And the prophets were to tell them that exactly just because we are human, we cannot be God. To do whatever God can do. But this doesn't mean that we are quite humans in all sense that you are humans. They're not talking from this aspect. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَمُنُّ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. All these things is about to say that they were different. So you see that Fakhruddin Al-Razi in his Tafsir al-Kabir, volume 19, page 74. He says, أما الشبهة الأولى فهي قولهم إن أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا. They said that you are humans like us. فجوابه, we answer that أن الأنبياء سلموا أن الأمر كذلك. The prophets accepted that yes, we are humans like you. لكنهم بيّنوا, in other places they mentioned that أن التماثل في البشرية والإنسانية لا يمنع من اختصاص بعض البشر بمنصب النبوة. But to be human does not negate that some people like the prophets to be chosen to prophethood. لأن هذا المنصب منصب يمن الله به على من يشاء من عباده. Because this is a position that Allah will show His blessing to some people and choose them to that position. فإذا كان الأمر كذلك فقد سقطت هذه الشبهة. When it is by the choosing of Allah, by the will of Allah, by the decision of Allah, then what is your rejection? You are rejecting that because you are human, you cannot be prophets. They say, no, Allah has chosen us. وَأَلَمْ أَنَّ هَذَا الْمَقَامِ فِيهِ بَحْثٌ شَرِيفٌ دَقِيقٌ. He says there is a delicate point here. وهو أن جماعة من حكماء الإسلام قالوا, some of a group of حكماء, the scholars and of Islam, they have said that إن الإنسان ما لم يكن في نفسه وبدنه مخصوصا بخواص شريفة علوية قدسية فإنه يمتنع عقلا حصول صفة النبوة له. They have said that if a person doesn't have a specific level of purity and sacredness inside and a kind of pure soul, the position of prophethood will not be given to them. وَأَمَّا الظَّاهِرِيُّونَ مِنْ أَهْلِ السُنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ. But the literally superficious people from the Sunnis who just look at the surface, they cannot go deep into the concept. أما الظاهريون from أهل السنة فقد زعموا أن حصول النبوة أتية من الله تعالى. They have thought that prophet is just a gift. Allah has gifted them without any specific quality in them. يهبها لكل من يشاء من عباده. And these people, they believe that ولا يتوقف حصولها على امتياز ذلك الإنسان عن سائر الناس بمزيد إشراق نفساني وقوة قدسية. And they think that no, his soul does not, actually it doesn't need to be in a specific difference from the others. It's just a chance. By chance, Allah chose this person, so Allah could choose the other one. You see, you have heard that sometimes they say that Shia believes that Jibreel made a mistake. Some of the Sunnis, they say that Jibreel made a mistake. He wanted to go to Ali than to the Prophet. No, when they claim such a accusation against Shia, because they themselves, they have this understanding that, because you have to see a foundation for what you're claiming. To think that, there is no difference, but Allah chose this person, but Allah could choose the other. As they have the same mentality about second Khalifa Umar. They themselves actually, they think that the hadiths they fabricated and they have narrated in their books that Umar was of such position that there are ahadith they have narrated even in Sahih Bukhari, Musaddiqat Umar, that they say in different places Umar disputed the Prophet, the Jibreel revealed مصدقا لعمر مكذبا لرسول الله, supporting, confirming Umar, rejecting the Prophet. More than 10 cases they mentioned that in the disputes the angel came and said, no, Umar is right, the Prophet is wrong. Or even there is a narration in Tafsir, in Tarikh Tabari, that once somebody came to Umar and said that there were rulings at the time of the Prophet, but you changed them. Then he mentions the things like mut'a and the other things, and Omar tries to defend his position, and he says, no, this was at the time of the Prophet. The guy insists that this was something at the time of the Prophet. Then Omar apparently gets angry and he says, what are you saying? Ana zamilu Muhammad. I am a person like Muhammad. We were close. We were together. We were together. We are mates. We were mates. He had his idea, I have my idea. That mentality says that, yeah, angel went to the Prophet, but it could go to Omar, it could go to Ali, he could go to anyone else. So it was a chance that the Prophet was chosen. And as Fakhruddin Al-Razi says, who are these people? These are al-zahiriyun min ahl sunnati wal jama'ah. These are the literalist people who do not understand the essence of things. While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise, and wisdom of Allah is that if He's going to give the mission to the Prophet, there should be a reason for that. إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are a great akhlaq, and because of this great akhlaq and the great soul, you have the chance to be a prophet. Of course, the verse doesn't say, Allah says, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Allah is admiring the great soul of the Prophet. So the soul of the Prophet, akhlaq of the Prophet is not like the other people. I said in the measurement of Allah, when Allah looks at this world, this dunya, calls it mata'un ghalil. It's small. It's not that much. It's a small provision. Now, from Allah's measurement, in Allah's scale, Allah's measurement, whatever is there is mata'a qalil, is small. But from the very perspective of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He comes to the Prophet, He says, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Your akhlaq is so great. So how can you consider him like the other people? To say, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. I have no difference. Are we of khulq azim? Can you call yourself of khulq azim? And those people who were there at the time of the Prophet, they had khulq azim? They didn't have. There were lots of people who were very weak. They had no akhlaq. Al-A'rabu ashaddu kufran wa nifaqa, Allah says. A'rab, the Bedouins, are the most severe in their hypocrisy, in their kufr. وَأَجْدَرُ أَلَّا يَعْلَمُوا حُدُودَ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. They don't have this capacity to understand the wisdom behind the rulings of Allah, behind the ahkam of Allah. So they reject it. قَالَتِ الْأَعْرَابُ آمَنَّا. A'rab, they said, we have faith. O Prophet, tell them that you don't have faith. وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا. You're just Muslim, you're uttering by your tongues. But Islam is not, Iman is not in your heart. فَلَمَّا يَدْخُلَ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Iman didn't enter into your hearts. So, how can you say that the Prophet is one of them? Prophet is like them. Of course it's not, he doesn't make sense. So, that's why Fakhruddin Al-Razi says, Al-Zahiriyun, these literalist, ignorant people may think that the Prophet was just gifted prophethood and he was chosen out of nothing. والكلام من هذا الباب غامض غائز دقيق. The point is very accurate here. والأولون أجابوا عنه بأنهم لم يذكروا فضائلهم النفسانية والجسدانية تواضعا منهم. The prophets didn't mention their qualities, their differences, because of their being humble and متواضع. فاقتصروا على قولهم ولكن الله يمن على من يشاء من عباده بالنبوة لأنه قد علم أنه تعالى لا يخصهم بتلك الكرامات إلا وهم موصوفون بالفضائل التي لأجلها استوجبوا ذلك التخصيص. They know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has wisdom, and Allah by His wisdom chooses a person to prophethood. Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'alu risalata. So Allah knows to whom to give His prophethood, and it is according to wisdom. And Allah knew that their akhlaq, their capacity, their karamat, and their faza'il and virtues, and because of that He gave them the position. وَالنَّبِيُّ هُوَ الْإِنسَانُ الْكَامِلُ الْمُكَمَّلُ. The Prophet is the perfect man who is complete in akhlaq. ثم قد تكون قوته الروحانية النفسانية وافية بتكميل إنسانين ناقصين. Here, Zamakhshari says, Fakhruddin Al-Razi says, the prophets could be different. Even the prophets may differ in their positions, in their purity. As Quran says, تِلْكَ الرُّسُلْ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Allah says, we gave them different ranks. We gave them different positions and virtues, so not all were the same. he says that there might be a prophet that his purity and his perfectness can, if you want to give to two people, to two weak people, it can fulfill two people into إنسان كامل, into a perfect man. فقد تكون أغبى من ذلك. A prophet might be more perfect than this. فيفي بتكميل عشرة. One prophet's character might be so strong that if it is going to be dispensed among people, it can make 10 people as perfect men. And some prophets may some prophets may perfect hundreds of people. فقد تكون تلك القوة قاهرة قوية تؤثر تأثير الشمس في العالم. There might be a prophet that his soul is like a sun. It can shine on all. فيقلب أرواح أكثر أهل العالم من مقام الجهل. يقلب أرواح أكثر أهل العالم من مقام الجهل إلى مقام المعرفة. وذلك مثل روح محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. So like the soul of the prophet, to be rahmatan lil alameen, to be a blessing for all. So for the prophet to be rahma lil alameen is not by chance, is not by accident. He has that khulq azim. He has that khulq azim, and by that khulq azim, by that great akhlaq, he can be rahma lil alameen. He has the capacity. Inna Allah, in Surah Al-Ahzab, Allah says, هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. Allah and His angels, they send salawat to you, and because of their salawat, you will be taken out of darkness into light. So this is the function of salawat of Allah and the angels. The angels ask for salawat of Allah. The angels are wasa'il, wasila for you. So through that salawat of Allah, you will be taken out of darkness into light. Then in the other verses, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ. Allah and the angels are sending salawat. يُصَلُّونَ is فعل مضارع. Muzare is to say that something is being done and it is in a repeated tone. It's being continued and it is in a continuous tone. So Allah and His angels continuously, they are sending salawat to the Prophet. And the light is going towards the Prophet, and the Prophet is absorbing this light and taking this light. So how much great this character of the Prophet should be to carry all this light which is continuously coming to him. So by that great light, then he can be rahmah lil alamin. This is not tafsir batini. No, they say they are doing tafsir batini. This is not tafsir batini. I said this is tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran. They're interpreting Quran by Quran. Allah says the function of salawat is that it takes you out of darkness into life, a light. And again it says that constantly Allah and the angels are sending salawat to the Prophet. So how great this character of the Prophet is that he is just getting this salawat. And then he can give back this salawat and this light to people. Then he becomes rahmatan lil alameen. We send you as a blessing and rahmah for people. And then he can shine actually this horizon of humanity. And he can be a shining star till the Day of Judgment. Inshallah, we'll continue with this discussion in the coming session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.